Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Magistus deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an amazing deck that has all sorts of spellcaster archetypes tied into this build. I've included all sorts of spicy tech cards in this deck for you guys, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name, description, every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Zoroa, the Magistus of Flames. This card is basically a 1-card combo for the deck to be able to synchro summon out your copy of Zoroa Magistus Calamity, which is an insanely powerful card that's basically a walking skill drain. This card has an awesome effect that you can target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your extract, which can be itself. It can target itself. And if this card becomes equipped with a Magistus monster, you can special summon out a level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand or grave in defense position, except another copy of this card, and then negate its effects. And you can only use effect this card once per turn, so basically if you're just summoning out this card, you target itself, equip it with any Magistus monster from your extract, which is usually going to be your copy of Artemis, and then you use its ability to basically special summon out another level 4 to your side of the field, and then you can synchro summon your copy of Calamity, which is just a really awesome effect to be able to use with this card. We then play 3 copies of Magistus of Vir. Magistus of Vir is a definite 3 on this build, because if this card is normally special summon, you can activate one of these effects to add a Magistus spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is the main effect that you're going to be using on this card, or return one of your banished level 4 or lower spellcaster monsters to your graveyard. You can also banish this card from your graveyard and target a Magistus monster that you control, and equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your graveyard except a level 4 monster, which is a really cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Crowley. Crowley is a definite 3 of in this deck as well, because you can send a spellcaster monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use to instantly get this card on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Endymion. Endymion is really good in this deck because this card is actually a level 4 water monster, and I have a really cool tech card that works with this card in the deck. But it also has the ability you can target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with 1 Magistus monster from your extract. And then you can also target a face-up spell card that you control and destroy it, and if you do, draw a card. Then you can place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, which is a really cool effect that you basically get to draw a card and then place a card on the bottom of your deck, which is just a really good effect to help you get more cards that you need. We then play 2 copies of Performage Trick Clown. Trick Clown is really good as a 2 of in this deck because you have a lot of cards in this particular build like Crowley that's going to send cards from your hand to the graveyard, and this card actually brings itself back to your side of the field if it touches the grave, which is a really good effect. The only downside of this card is when it special summons itself, it does become a 0/0 and you take 1,000 points of damage, and you can only use its effect once per turn. But it's really good in this deck to get you 2 level 4 spellcasters on the field so you can start your plays. We then play 2 copies of Gigabyte. Gigabyte is the really awesome tech card that I'm playing in this deck to work with Endymion because they're both water. And this card comes in extremely handy in the deck because you can only control 1 of this card, but if you control a spellcaster type monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So you can basically normal summon out your copy of Endymion, and then special summon out Gigabyte, make Bahamut Shark, and then special summon out Totally Awesome, which is actually totally awesome. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. Ash Blossom is just really good in this deck to be able to stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it's just a fantastic hand trap overall. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is really good in this deck to be able to get into the exact monster you want on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good in this deck to be able to search out our field spell that we're playing, Secret Village of the Spellcasters, which is going to help you lock down your opponent from activating spell cards. We then play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial works extremely well with your copy of Trick Clown to get it in the graveyard so you can can bring it back to your field. We then play a single copy of the Magistus Quick Play spell. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card. It lets you target a Magistus monster you control and equip it with one Magistus monster, except a level 4 monster from your X deck, graveyard, or face from field. If you have at least one each of a Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Exy, and Link monster in your graveyard, you can equip it with one non-Magistus Fusion, Synchro, Exy, or Link monster from your X deck instead, which is a pretty interesting effect. We then play a single copy of Magistus Invocation. This card is basically the fusion spell for the deck, and you can play this card just as a 1-of in this build, because you're rarely ever fusion summoning in this particular deck, but it does come in every so often, because the effect of our Magistus Fusion monster is basically a change of heart, which is a pretty good effect. So if your opponent puts a monster on the field that you want to take for your own, you can actually fusion summon into your copy of your spirit, which is really cool to be able to take your opponent's card. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is really good as a 2-of in the deck, because we play so many 3-ofs in this particular deck. This card just helps you dig into the deck to get the exact card you need, and just a really good card overall. We then play 2 copies of the Magistus Monster Reborn card. This card is really good in the deck as a 2-of. It'll let you target a level 4 lower Magistus monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And if you have a Magistus cards in your spell and trap card zone would be destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is a really good effect just to give you a little bit of protection. We then play 3 copies of Triad Magistus. Triad Magistus is really insane. This card is almost like Soul Charge, which is insane from your hand. The first time each Magistus monster equipped with an equip card would be destroyed by battle each turn and is not destroyed. And you only use one of the following effects: that during your main phase, you can special summon one level 4 spellcaster monster from your hand, which makes you not so reliant on the normal summon in the deck, which is really nice. This card also has the ability you can send this face-up card to the graveyard to special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand, which is a great effect to be able to just immediately swarm the board with multiple Magistus monsters, especially since we have 4 different names in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Spell Power Mastery. Spell Power Mastery is great as a searcher in the deck, because this card has the ability to add one Endymion card from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to use in this deck to be able to search out our copy of our Endymion Magistus. We then play 3 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Secret Village of the Spellcasters is great in the deck, because it's pretty much all we're playing in the main deck anyways, and this card is great in the deck to be able to lock down your opponent so they can't activate spells. The only downside of this card is if you don't control a spellcaster monster, you can't activate spells. But we're always going to control a spellcaster in the deck, and we have plenty of ways to just normal summon one out to the field anyways if our opponent does board wipe us. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3 traps, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is just really good right now at stopping your opponent's monster effects, but also locking down entire columns for spells and traps by just setting this card to your side of the field. I love this card in the deck, and it's super helpful. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Zoroa Calamity. This card is insanely powerful. This card is basically walking skill drain, which is just absolutely crazy. That if this card is synchro summon, you can equip a Magistus monster from your X deck to this card, and your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters with the same type as the monsters equipped to this card. That's a Fusion, Synchro, Exy, or Link monster as a Magistus monster equipped to this card in the spell and trap card zone, which is just an insane effect that you can basically just lock down your opponent for any of your Magistus monsters in the spell and trap card zone. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can target a Magistus card that you control, destroy it, and if you special summon this card, so this card just comes back over and over again like a phoenix, which is absolutely crazy. We then play a single copy of the Magistus Dragon. The Magistus Dragon is just a good 1-of in this particular deck. You don't need any more than a single copy of this card. It has a really good effect that while this card is an equip card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell and trap effects, and you can only use the following effects this card once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, is destroyed, then you can destroy all face-up cards that your opponent controls, and at the start of the damage step, if the monster this card is equipped to battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster, which is a pretty good effect. You're only ever playing this card in this particular build to be able to equip to other cards. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage Dragon because it's easy to make this card and it's easy to put link monsters in the graveyard to give this card a negate, and it's a really good card to make in this deck. We then play a single copy of the Spell Spirit, which is our only fusion monster in the deck. This card is really good in this particular build and has a really great effect that while this card is a equip card, the equip monster gains 1,000 attack and defense. And then during the main phase, quick effect, you can target one other face-up monster on the field and equip this card that you control to it. And if it's equipped to an opponent's monster by this effect, you take control of the equipped monster. Also cannot activate its effects, which is a crazy effect that you can just take your opponent's monster with this card's effect. We then play a single copy of the Glass Goddess. Glass Goddess is just a good one-of in the deck. I really like this card in the deck, but you really only need a single copy of this card in this build. It has a great effect that while this card is a equipped card, the equipped monster can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, which is a crazy good effect for this card to have. We then play a single copy of the Magistus Witch Wardrobe. Witch Wardrobe is a good one-of in the deck and has a great on-field effect as well as a pretty good equip effect that has the ability that you can detach a material in this card to special summon a Magistus monster from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the X deck for the rest of the turn, except Magistus monsters, and then while this card is equipped to a monster, you can target one effect monster opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. I have considered bumping this card up to 2 in this particular build, but I'm not sure exactly what I want to cut yet, but this card is really good in this deck. We then play a single copy of Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark is really easy to make in this particular deck with your copy of your Endymion and your Gigabyte, and it's just a really good card to be able to summon out your copy of Totally Awesome off its effect. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is just a fantastic boss monster in just about any deck, and it's a great card in this particular build to be able to pop multiple cards on the field. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff, 1 copy of Celine to help you climb into your copy of Access Code, 1 copy of IP Masquerena to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn, and finally 2 copies of Artemis, one of the cards you're going to be equipping all the time to your other monsters. This card is insanely powerful and has a really good effect that if your other Magistus monster is normal or special summon, while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters and equip this card that you control to it. And then while this card is equipped to a monster, you can add a Magistus monster from your deck to your hand. And you only use the following effects this card. You can only use the effects this card once per turn. You can only special summon this card once per turn as well. But this card is really insane and it's just super good at helping you get the exact card that you need. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Magistus deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try. This card is absolutely insane in this deck and the main boss monster that we're trying to make. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.